why entrepreneurs struggles. Have you ever tried anything when it comes to business, whether it's multi-level marketing or starting your own business, and struggled?
This is an easy exercise for you guys to do. If you sit down and just list like the top 10 things that are most important to you. Most of us are going to say, our business, our family, our health, our relationship with our spouse, our spirituality, all of those things.
Sure.
And then just make a diagram with those top 5 things that you think are the most important.
This is why I say when I talk about business owners, it's not always the smartest, the most educated, the most skilled business. As a matter of fact, sometimes those things are holding people back from the success they're seeking because they put too much thought into everything that they're doing. You don't have to be great to get started, but you have to get started to be great, right?
Exactly.
If you improve your mindset and you improve your skills and your capabilities, then obviously your confidence will improve.
All right, guys, welcome to Success on Repeat.
Welcome to another episode of Success on Repeat. Thank you so much for being here. What a blessing it is to have you here. Have you ever tried anything when it comes to business, whether it's multi-level marketing or starting your own business, and struggled? Do you know other people that seem to go from business to business to business and struggle and just can't seem to get that success piece figured out? Today, we're going to talk about why entrepreneurs struggle. My name is Ryan Cabrera. I'm here with my brother, Manny. What's up, Manny?
Hey, buddy. How's it going, bro?
It's going good. So, entrepreneurs struggling. Obviously, we've all met somebody, right, that struggles.
I think all of us have struggled at some point.
Yeah. I think sometimes I still struggle.
I think that's a daily part of being an entrepreneur.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. I've heard it called the struggle bus. Some people have a little catchier phrases than others, for this kind of stuff. I think that if we consider the world at large, especially in Western civilization and in Western culture, there's a lot of people out there that have a desire to be an entrepreneur, right? Especially with social media, you have people like Gary Vee, Alex Hormozy, Myron Golden.
Well, entrepreneurship has become kind of like the modern culture's popularity thing.
Right, like a
used
celebrity.
to be the sports guy or be the arts guy, the actor or celebrity. Now entrepreneurs, that's the hot hip thing, right? Because of social media and seeing, right, you said Gary Vee and those guys have really popularized it. In the book on the E-Myth, Michael Gerber talks about, that a lot of times people are not necessarily entrepreneurs. They've had an entrepreneurial seizure. They think just because right. Well, the example is just because I was a great TV repair person, I should be the one that owns a TV repair shop, right?
Or a great electrician. Now I should own an electrical contracting company.
And then you understand from owning your own business, and I understand from owning my own business, and I'm sure many people out there that probably the actual thing that your business provides is honestly one of the smallest portions of actually running a business.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that because when I think of businesses that I could start, I think, I could start an electrical contracting company. And the last thing I want to be in that case is the electrician actually doing electrical work.
Well, I think in some cases, it might be, if you're an entrepreneur, not actually being able to do the thing might be the benefit.
Right.
Because you don't get bogged down in, okay, I'm going to go to this person's house and be the person that actually does the install of the AC unit or whatever, the service is, or product that you're selling.
Yeah. The person that actually does the fulfillment. If you can keep yourself out of the fulfilling of the service or product, especially when it's a service. Because that's one of the issues with service businesses in general, especially home services or business services that require payroll dollars, somebody to actually do something, is somebody to go and do the service, right? And so that's a time and muscle, manpower piece, which is a limited resource. There's only so many people that can do it, and there's only so much time in the day, and therefore it's not like software as a service where now the computer, software is doing all of the work as my labor. Right. Exactly right.
So, well, there's still, even if you're doing SaaS, the biggest challenge of that is also you still have a team of developers and you're still managing those people. You're just not actually doing the fulfillment because the software does the fulfillment.
Correct. Right. And we talk about this all the time. We want to find business models where we can set something up on the front end, but get paid continually on the back end. And so when we talk about passive residual income, a lot of times it's not necessarily that the total life cycle of that business is completely passive, right? It's not that I just used my money, and then because I used my money, now, it pays for whatever. And that then makes me more money continuously. It's that I set something up. I use my labor, my time, my energy, my resources, whatever it is, to set something up on the front end, and then that continues to pay me, dividends on the back end. So, in my estimation, there's a few things that cause entrepreneurs who have a desire to be an entrepreneur to struggle. And so those three things, the first one is a proper mentality or mindset. The second thing would be capabilities or skills, right? The ability to do something. And then I know I put a third one on there. Confidence. And so we're talking about confidence last, and we're going to talk about how you can get the confidence to how you can get the confidence to do whatever it is when it comes to entrepreneurship, because a lot of people do lack that confidence, even if they pretend, right? They say fake it till you make it.
Right.
Newsflash. Doesn't work.
Not as good as we thought it was.
Right. It sounds catchy, but it's it's an opposite of a paradox, whatever that is.
Faking it until you're making it is different than trying and learning mistakes,
right?
Or trying and learning from your no's.
Yeah.
I think there's probably a big distinction. Is fake it till you make it is the person who comes out and says, I know everything. I don't need to be, I don't need to learn from you. I don't need to gain the experience. I already know everything. That's being closed-minded to the future.
Or just like pretending. People will smell your lie pretty quickly. So if you're pretending to, and that's the fake it part of fake it till you make it. If you're pretending, people are going to, stiff you out. I think the issue is that pretending and doing something new are different. Pretending like, oh, I've been doing this forever and have no clue what you're doing. I think that's a problem. So I want to cover the first one being proper mentality or mindset. So proper mentality or mindset boils down to a focus problem. Focusing on what you can't do or what's missing more than focusing on what you can do. So I think when we think of a mindset issue, it's funny because I always kind of would be frustrated when it would come to, watching the content of like business gurus or entrepreneurs, people that were coaches or consultants. They would talk an awful lot about mindset. And I'm like, bro, can we get off the mindset thing?
Just show me how to sell.
Or show me the thing. Give me the skill. I want to know how to build a funnel. I want to know how to, do the e-commerce thing. I want to know how to fill in whatever widget, we need to fill in. And yet they would always seem to pull you in with that. But then when they start to deliver, they're focused on mindset. What do you think the reason for that is?
I think that there's a lot of times there's a lack of awareness, right? It's a lack of awareness on the fact that you yourself may be missing some things in whatever it is that's going in, and so here's what I mean. Like you go into business and you're looking at the concrete things in front of you.
Sure.
It's very hard to look at the abstract stuff, especially if we have to turn that mirror on ourselves and maybe admit to the fact that I may not have the right mindset. I may not be the person yet who can lead the team that I have or lead a rock star team. I might be actually the problem, And so a lot of times, I see with all kinds of business owners, whether it's in my industry, where I work with the after school activity world, I own a martial arts studio and I see many martial arts school owners, gymnastics team, school owners, dance places, where the owner is actually, in the way of their success. They're causing their problems more than outside circumstances are causing their problems. So they have a lack of ability and awareness to be able to handle things from the outside because they're too mired in their own drama.
Yeah, drama. So obviously, dealing with merchants, I deal, our clients are business owners. So I've dealt with business owners from, I don't want to say every industry, but over the last, over a decade now, I think we're on like 13 years of doing this. I would say that you're 100% right about business owners being an interesting breed. One of the things, so let's take mindset as one of these pieces. Kind of like we were talking about fake it till you make it, not being the right answer, but having your priorities out of order. So like one of the issues, and this is something that you've been telling me for like the last week, is done is better than perfect. So I've talked about it with salespeople. I've talked about it with business owners in the past, but one of the things that makes a successful business owner is execution, the people that actually go out and do the thing. So a lot of people will focus on having to make everything perfect. So let's say they want to start a business. Their focus will be on getting the right website domain, perfecting the logo, making, every little jot and tittle, every detail of whatever it is that they're doing, focusing on things that don't actually move the needle. So like if I want customers, the best thing for me to do is go get in front of people that are potential customers, whether that's walking into their places, making phone calls, whatever that is. But for whatever reason, that's the last thing on people's list. They need to get all of these other things in order before they can ever make that first phone call. So what they do is they go through a whole process of talking themselves out of doing the one thing that may have actually shown them some measure of success.
Well, I heard a real interesting quote one time, and I believe it was Mel Robbins, the author Mel Robbins. I don't know if you've ever seen her before, but she has a really interesting quote that I love. If you have a problem that can be solved with action, you don't have a problem.
Or if you have a problem that can be solved with money, you don't have a problem.
Well, that's true too. But if we're looking at new entrepreneurs, they have more action than they have money at the beginning.
Yeah, sweat equity more than capital.
Exactly. But if you have a problem that can be solved by action, so as long as you know the direction that you're supposed to be headed. So what is your vision? What is it where you want your business to be, where you want to be as an organization? As long as you're moving in that direction, you can fix everything on the side. Yeah. Like I knew when my business was small that as long as I was number one, serving the clients that I had in my market, like I was actually delivering the thing that I promised, promise to change lives, whatever that thing is, that as long as we were in motion, I could fix every other challenge that I have on the way because I had the leads coming in. I had the fact that our product worked. That was I was gaining more than I was losing when I was making mistakes.
Right.
And so I could learn from those mistakes and not have a situation where I am trying to fix all of my mistakes before I even take any action. And the challenge is I don't have any motion forward. I have no leads. I have no capital going. We're not closing clients. We're not having anybody coming in. That makes sense?
Oh, absolutely. So then again, that's an issue of priorities, right? So like you were saying, the crux of the business is having a good product and having people to present that product to.
Well, if we're talking about a business, yes.
Yeah.
Like I got to tell you, and this may be taking us in a different direction.
Sure.
All right. My personal opinion is that the priorities of the person who is leading the charge, usually that's you, the owner, the entrepreneur, their priorities have to be in alignment with who they are as a person and what's actually most important to them. So, one time I did this activity called a priority star. And, all the last 20 years that I've owned my business, I've always ranked my business as one of the most important things to me. But after doing this exercise with my coaches, it actually turned out that my business, my actual martial arts studio that I own, didn't even make the top 5. And if I had these other 5 things in alignment with who I was as a core person, well then, you know what? My business success actually chased me. So, if you identify, you sit down and this is an easy exercise for you guys to do. If you sit down and just list the top 10 things that are most important to you, most of us are going to say, our business, our family, our health, our relationship with our spouse, our spirituality, all of those things.
Sure.
And then just make a diagram with those top 5 things that you think are the most important. And then, okay, well, if I have health and I have family, my relationship with God, my business, and, my relationship with my children, and, well, which one is the most important?
Yeah.
Which one depends on all the others?
Right.
Well, it turns out that having my health and my spiritual, my spiritual relationship with God actually ranked first, because if I didn't have those, how could I possibly be a good spouse?
Facts.
How could I possibly be a good parent? How could I possibly be the kind of person that actually was a good leader in my business?
Right.
And so it actually realigned what was most important for me. And that's when, after several years, you can see right on the camera, I'm still working on it, but health actually came out at number 1 and number 2 sometimes.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Wow.
And so then now I have my life score. Like, what is it where am I, where am I at on my relationship with my wife? Where am I at on my relationship with my children who are in the studio with us? Where am I at on my relationship with, my friends or rewards and then finally, how am I being as a leader? And so then now that I have those, priorities, well, I focus on, okay, well, what can I do to be a little better at this? What can I do to be a little better at that? The next one.
Yeah.
And, what ends up happening is when I go to my business, I'm now attracting better talent because I'm the kind of leader,
Right.
that everybody wants to follow, be with, and be like.
Gotcha.
So in the instance, what I said kind of towards the beginning is it like I had to be the source of my problems less.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
Right.
if I'm constantly trying to overcome the fact that maybe at home things weren't going well, or I'm snapping at my kids, or, for a long time, ignored my health, ignored my eating habits, didn't go to the gym. Dude, I owned a fitness kickboxing franchise and I wasn't working out.
Right.
That was an issue.
Sure. Sure.
Not just from the outside being congruent in that aspect, but like, how can I want to, be focused on helping people to gain their health if I'm not gaining my own health?
Right. No, that's 100%. So in other words, the getting your priorities in alignment, even though the business itself wasn't in the top of those, getting those in alignment made the business better.
Yeah, exactly. And then the second part, like after, in my opinion, after, once you kind of get the alignment of what is the most important things of what you're trying to work for, because it goes to what is your vivid vision, not for your business, but for your life.
Right. And the business is a piece of that.
Well, your business is supposed to serve that.
Right.
And if your business doesn't serve that, and it doesn't help you serve others, well, then you're in the wrong business, or you have something that you need to get
100%, 100.
But once I solve that portion,
Yeah.
of what makes what makes me a good leader, how am I going to cause my problems less? I lost it.
Yeah. No, how are you going to cause your problems less? Well, solving the problem of your priorities solves almost every other problem because you get things in the right order. So this is a mindset shift, and this is why when you go and you talk to all these coaches and consultants, they know one thing. Like, for example, Myron Golden, my coach, he talks about that you want this outcome, but he, from a biblical standpoint, takes out of Genesis 1 that there's a be, do, have framework, that you have to become the person that can do the thing before you can have the outcome that you desire.
Exactly.
And if you
can't fake it.
And you can't fake it. And if you won't become the person that will do it, and then you won't do it. And if you won't do it, then you won't have it. So when you're selling to somebody as an entrepreneur, you're selling them the have. You're selling them the payoff. You're saying, this is what I'm going to help you do. They think that when they come in, that what you're going to be providing them with is a list of do's.
Yeah.
But what you're really going to be providing them with is an atmosphere to help them become.
Exactly.
And I think that's why mindset is such a key piece of this. And this is why mindset is the number one thing that causes entrepreneurs to struggle. If you don't get the mindset right, if you don't start putting things in order and have the priorities, set in the proper, order, then you're going to miss out on the other pieces of the puzzle. Because, the second thing I said was capabilities or skills. But the reason that you don't even bother with the capabilities or skills is because of this. If you can become the person, then you'll figure out the capabilities and the skills.
Exactly.
Bottom line. I'll give you a perfect example. Our father, if I would say one of the great things that he taught, at least me, is to not be afraid to just try stuff when it comes to construction or mechanics or anything like that. Now, granted,
Bro,
I'm not saying you're not handy.
I mean, listen, I do have an electrician coming to my house tomorrow instead of me actually doing it myself.
Right.
But that's because I believe in buying back my time.
which is a whole other level of this. But this skill set is also applicable in other things, right? So again, back to the fake it till you make it. Not being afraid to do something you don't know how to do, and not feeling it necessary to be fake in order to do it is a superpower. And so, now, obviously there's YouTube University out there, but there's a ton of people that would not even consider watching that information on YouTube to go to, I've remodeled 3 bathrooms. Now ask me how many, before I remodeled the 3 bathrooms in my house, ask me how many bathrooms I remodeled.
Hey, Ryan, how many bathrooms had you remodeled before you remodeled those 3 bathrooms?
Zero bathrooms. And so, not for nothing, but I think those bathrooms came out pretty good. It doesn't look like shoddy work. It looks like a professional came in and did it. I took my time and got it done. And granted, I will say this. If I were to do it again, I would pay somebody to come in and do that. However, it was a learning experience for me in multiple different ways. And I gained a skill set in the midst of this. And if nothing else, now when I'm having conversations with people about about construction, or if I need someone to come and do construction for me and I need to know if it's being done properly, or maybe it's just when I'm someplace I can admire something a little better because I know how hard it was to do X, Y, or Z when it comes to, say, tile or installing, a shower pan or, cabinets or plumbing, you name electrical work,
Well, it has a lot to do with, like if you ever read the book Go for No, in that book Go for No, it talks about the idea that no is the way to yes.
Oh yeah.
That if you're willing to get more no's in sales, then chances are what's going to happen is that you're going to get more yeses than you get no's. So if your goal is 20 no's, you're going to get a ton of yeses on the way, especially if your product actually delivers or you guys are actually good at what you do. The success is going to follow that no is the way to success. In your instance, where you're talking about your bathrooms, you weren't afraid to fail. You weren't afraid to make mistakes. And I'm willing to bet, at least on the first two, because I know that, because I'm your brother, I know that you did the primary bathroom before you, last.
Yeah, I left that one last, yeah.
So you did a little bit more.
I had a little practice.
Well, you did a little bit more complicated things. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So it took a while longer, but the certain aspects of how you did those things took longer in the first bathroom.
Yeah.
The actual mechanics. Some of the stuff it went a little bit shorter in the last bathroom. And then because you had the experience of those two things, you weren't afraid to go a little bit bigger. You actually rearranged some of the room, some of the actual structures of the walls and stuff. And even though it took longer because you were doing more in that bathroom, the actual process went faster because you did more.
This is true.
And so not being afraid, not for lack of a better word, not being afraid to suck.
Yeah.
And embracing that.
Right.
While you're trying to get better at, while you're trying is going to help you in the long run.
Right. I think it
develops the capability.
Who was I watching the other day? It's what's the contrarian gal that she does the buys businesses? It's not Corey. Anyways, she's
Cody Sanchez.
She is awesome. But she talks about failing fast, which again, I think is another piece of this. Partly mindset, partly a skill, is getting through the action steps to get a no, or to get the failure so that you can fix whatever that is or get better at it or figure out that that's not the way that something works. Perfect example in my own life is I signed up for a program from a mentor, like a mastermind program, and it's for a specific way to do something. And I'm sitting there every week, week in and week out, or on these calls on Zoom, and I'm listening to other people ask questions. And not for nothing, I'm learning from their questions, but I didn't really come every week, week in and week out with questions of my own. But the reason that I didn't come with questions of my own is I wasn't doing the things that like the program told you to do. The minute I started executing, I had a bunch of questions.
Right.
And then I started to get real value out of those calls because I started putting the pieces of the puzzle together, and I was like, well, wait, so on this one, you said this is what happened when I did what I thought you meant by that. And he's like, oh, no, I meant this is how that, you know what I mean? And just, so you get all the clarifications from the action steps in it. And all of a sudden I started getting like real tangible value from the calls that we were on. So, I mean, it was obviously super helpful. One point,
well,
go ahead.
I mean, I'm sorry, because we talk about, we just talked about making our own mistakes.
Right.
And then we had our questions, but you just touched on probably another part of, success, gaining capabilities, gaining the skills, even learning the mindset is leveraging other people's experience and mistakes.
Yeah.
So that's either in, as if you're building a team, like, we have a team of 20 at our studio of people who are high performers and awesome, and eventually people who are better than you are at what we're doing.
Yeah, exactly.
Like I'm a very good martial arts instructor, But I can tell you, my wife, Jessica, is way better martial arts instructor than I am.
Yeah.
Because she understands more about children and understands, as you know, because she's a mom and she's very, very knowledgeable, but she has more day-to-day experience now than I do.
Yeah.
Now, the second part of it is a program, leveraging someone else's expertise through buying a coaching program or something like that, so that you can leverage that to compound your learning curve.
Right.
Because you avoid mistakes by learning from their mistakes.
Man, who said that?
Like, I don't necessarily have to get punched in the face to watch somebody else get punched in the face. And no, I need to block, right?
I don't want to get punched in the face, right? Well, okay, so somebody said this the other day. They said, use your wallet to fill your mind, and then let your mind fill your wallet.
Yeah.
It was a little thing that I heard. It was kind of catchy.
Powerful.
It is very powerful.
That's not like, if I want to learn something, a lot of times the first thing I do is I find the program and get my credit card out.
Yeah. Well, and sometimes these things will have like very powerful information. So there's two things about that. So kind of like what you were saying, there's levels to the game, right?
Right.
One of the things is go find the information on the how to do it. But then there's the go find the who that already knows how to do it and pay them to do it instead of figuring out the how, which is a shortcut.
Right.
And it really depends on what it is. And within your specific business, there's different applications of different things.
And there's also different stages of where you're at, in some cases financially.
Correct. Yeah.
Sometimes it's learning what it is and then doing it yourself.
Right.
Until you have the ability and the growth that warrants bringing in the person to do it.
Right. Well, a perfect example is like with this construction stuff, a future goal of mine, like I own a couple pieces of real estate, but I don't do any like things that require like fixes and flips or any of that kind of stuff. And so one of the things that is good in real estate, a quick way to make some money is to buy properties, fix them and flip them. Right. And so if you're to deal with contractors and have no idea what actually goes into it, then, there's a certain amount of that ignorance causing you problems. Right. So now that I have, more information, that's a helpful piece to help me. So I want to make one clarifying statement about the capabilities and skills. There are like in the entrepreneurship world, there's no substitute for being good. There's no substitute for experience. Okay. But the second best thing is to learn the skill by, an actual skill by paying somebody to teach you. Or consuming content that's free. There's a lot of stuff out there that you can learn that is free. When it comes to entrepreneurship, there's skills out there that are more important than others, but talent and skill are different. So what's funny, so let's take sales skills. Sales is one of the most important skills that you can have in business, period, end of story.
Well, it's one of the most important skills, I would say, in life, because what is sales? But on the macro level, it's influence. So if you're teaching somebody,
interesting,
if for example, and I always bring it back to martial arts because that's what you're
karate guy.
Well, it's what we
suck. Yeah, of course.
It's what we did growing up. If I'm teaching somebody self-defense, well, I'm going to have to influence them that the self-defense that I'm teaching them could save their life. But what they are going to do is is that they are going to depend their life on what it is that I'm teaching them. So belief and confidence, they have to have it, or else whatever I teach them, they're going to dismiss, or they're not going to learn, or they're going to skip it. And then they're in the same position they were.
Right.
Well, that's where competence comes in. We actually need to be good at what we do. Like you got to actually know, about violence and self-defense, stress inoculation, all those things. But the second thing is like, that is a sales job. That is influence. I'm influencing in those positions. We talk to raising our own children, we are influencing them, but we also have to, whether we're showing them through our example or we're teaching them outright, we are influencing them that there is a certain direction for their life that is going to be more successful for them, is going to be more rewarding, or is going to be more in alignment with our beliefs.
Right.
Versus the way the culture wants them to sell them on it.
Yeah.
So that in itself is a sales job. So I think that like everybody has sales. Sales, but like you're selling every second. If you're married, you sold another person that you were the right person for them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that.
Yeah.
So I think that, it's bigger. Well, bigger than just, okay, I'm trying to convince somebody that,
So in other words,
convince somebody, but I'm sharing somebody that I have the right solution for them.
So in other words, people sometimes get lucky and sell, right? But that's not using the skill of sales, right? Using the skill of sales and mastering sales ability, or mastering any skill, right, is the ability to then do it without having to use conscious resources. So like, for example, you and I were talking earlier about in your sales process at the martial arts school, that there's a price marinade that you do naturally as part of a bridge beforehand, so that when you come later on, that they've already marinated on it, but that you were able to wow them in between, right?
Okay. Well, the most common process for inviting and enrolling people into our program is full members. So, our brick and mortar business is just like it uses a lot of same principles as online businesses, but it's very much, if you think about it, it's the hospitality game.
Yeah.
Like, we're bringing people in, making them feel like they belong, and then inviting them to join us as a full member of our tribe.
Right.
Yeah. So I would say the popular consensus is that you do your rate presentation at the end, right before you sign them up. They come in, whether they do your individual trial or a group lesson or whatever it is that you offer for letting them experience what it is that you guys do, or if it's a tour, like whatever. There's a lot of different ways to skin the cat, right?
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot of different ways to get there. But the popular consensus is you do the presentation and then you invite them to close, like right there at the end. And then after they've already, they've come in, you've done discovery, you've talked about their needs, you give them the tour, show them what's up, introduce them to the instructor, let them try the class. That last part happens at the end.
Yeah. Well, meaning the presentation part,
the rate presentation.
The fact. Yeah.
And so, the thing that we were at earlier, where we were talking about, this process, is it about 2 years ago, I decided that, what I really want is to invite people to join our program, and I want them to join our program on the first day. Our opportunity for them to come in and check us out is a 2-week special, but I would much rather invite them to join us on the first day rather than waiting to the end of that 2 weeks.
Sure.
Because by the time they get to the end of the first week, they're already looking forward to the end of whatever it is. Mm-hmm. It's not that our program's not awesome. Our program is fantastic.
Right.
But it's a mental thing, is that once you're past the midpoint, excitement begins to decline.
Right.
So, and then truthfully told, parents know whether this is the right place for their kids or not.
Right.
Like, when people are creepy, or when people are like, this place is maybe not going to deliver on what it is that I promise.
Right.
But we're going to, show them, hey, this really is a great place. These are really awesome people. And we are going to help your child learn whatever it is that you want them. The things that we say we're going to do, we're going to show you how we're going to do it that first day.
Right.
So the way we changed probably about 2 years ago is that we offer them the opportunity. We show them, okay, hey, we're going to, there's no pressure, and to join the program, but here's our membership options. Here's the special that we have for your first day incentive. And all I'm going to ask you to do is that you kind of check out the information here on, with us, which is, make sure, all the information they need. Think about it, watch the class, see if we're actually going to deliver on what it is that we say we're going to do. And at the end, it's either a no-brainer to say yes, but if it's a no, well, you still have the 2 weeks to try us out.
Yeah. Right.
But it definitely does make that price bridge to educate them on what is going on. And, truthfully told, I stumbled on it without knowing the concept, and I was just excited, when we were at that thing and he was talking about that. Yeah. Because we were at, we were the master levels closer, basically, who does high ticket programs.
Right.
It was something we were already doing.
Yeah. Which is always cool when you're like getting
confirmation. I didn't know it was called Price Bridge until that moment. Or I'm talking a couple hours ago.
Yeah. Well, and that it was working for you before you even knew that that's what was working for you, right? That it was an actual piece of it, which is cool when you do something naturally. Which I would say that's probably in the talent piece of it. But it sounds like you actually implemented that on purpose ahead of time and then learned.
Well, we implemented it to experiment. Hey, what if I did this first?
Yeah.
What if we asked them, we showed them all the membership options before their child, before the kid takes the class, so that they can have the opportunity to think about whether or not this is for them. Right. And then at the end, it's not, surprise, it's this much.
Yeah.
It's just having a conversation and sharing. and finding out if this makes sense, if we can serve their needs.
Yeah, no, that makes sense a lot. Okay, so then now that becomes a skill because you can then implement that and teach others how to do it.
Because you systematize
it. Exactly right. I could tell you, so talent versus skill when it comes to the capabilities that you need in order to run a successful business as an entrepreneur or whatever. One of the things that I've noticed, I used to run health clubs, and then I've been running a payments firm for years. And the most successful salespeople I've ever had work for me, I give this example sometimes. There's a guy that when I first started working in the gym business, he sat in front of me and he sold, hundreds of memberships a month. And it was more than everybody else. I mean, talking about like number one, number two in the company, and there was 55 locations. So we're talking nationwide, and ours was not a special, like better club and better market.
It wasn't the naturally high volume one.
Correct. And so the fact that this person was performing so well was not because of the environment necessarily, right? It wasn't like he was given a leg up. It was because of his execution and his skill set. And so what I figured out though,
and his mindset.
100%.
Because there was a discipline to his craft.
Correct.
He was understanding, hey, there's a volume aspect to this.
Okay, so, and let's also add, that these people aren't always the smartest people. Their personalities aren't always the best person. I'm not specifically talking about him. Their personalities aren't always the best. They're not always the nicest people, right? Okay. It's not, again, a talent issue. It's a skill issue. And in this case, if I had to tell you, the skill that he had to do with the mindset and the discipline piece that you're saying, because it had to do with the execution. This is why I say when it talks about business owners, it's not always the smartest, the most educated, the most skilled business. As a matter of fact, sometimes those things are holding people back as entrepreneurs and business owners from the success they're seeking because they put too much thought into everything that they're doing. So I would come in the mornings, right? And I sat behind this guy. So I saw him, and then I had some guys that would sit behind me. Our desks were like in a row, kind of in an open area inside of a gym. Right? And
they call that the pit, right? Or the sales.
I don't know.
Or something like that.
Might have been. We might have called it the pit or something like that. And there was like a little half wall, and there's little lockers there, like little, below the wall there that people would come up. So we talked to members or whatever. So we're out in the open because our job is to serve the members, but also to enroll new members.
So you get referrals and
100%. So, you come in the morning, and most people would come in and they would come and sit down at their desk. They'd get logged into their email, get logged into the CRM. They'd have some conversations with some personal trainers, with some members. And then they'd be like, oh man, I'm tired. Let me go get some coffee, right? So they get up and they go get themselves some coffee. And then after they go and get themselves some coffee, then, they're like, oh man, that coffee was running through me. I got to go to the bathroom, right? So then
it's Dunkin' time.
Yeah, it's Dunkin' time, right? So then they go to the bathroom. And, they're, in the bathroom, and they come back, and then, they want to look through their lead lists and see who they plan on calling that day and so on and so forth. You get the point.
We're talking now it's like 9:30,
well,
10 o'clock.
We're talking it's an hour and a half into their day, and they really haven't done anything to move the ball forward.
Exactly.
Versus this other guy, he would come in and like literally before he even knew who he was going to call, he like had the phone in his hand and he just looking for a number to dial, right? And that may be an extreme example, but that was quite literally, like, I'm not making that up. I mean, like literally he would come in and he'd just pick up the phone. Smile and dial. And then, as people were coming in, obviously he had earned that front desk, so the people that came in, they would check in and they'd walk right past his desk, whatever. So he knew their names, he'd talk to them. And so he's doing all of the things that, within the environment that he was in to cultivate his sales. And that was absolutely a skill. He was doing it on purpose. He knew what he was doing. And because of that, he saw more success than the rest of the people. But it was not because his personality was better than them.
Including you?
It was not better. So it's funny. I mean, he and I started going back and forth, month in and month out as far as like how well we did. But I will say this. He for sure was the one that would edge me out, right? So like if he was doing, 120 memberships a month, I was at 105. I mean, we were right there, and we'd be like number 1 and number 3 in the company and stuff like that. Usually I beat him a couple months, don't get me wrong. And it's not like it never happened, but it was not, I mean, he was very disciplined, very skilled.
Well, success leaves clues, right?
And he was a little cutthroat at times. And so that may have attributed to some of the little,
we get half commission on this.
Yeah, exactly right.
Let me get a little something.
Yeah. he was definitely going for it. So
Stealing leads.
So I would also say that when it comes to talent, people overestimate the need for talent. I had another person that worked for me at another club, and this person was not very talkative, very introverted. All right, and we're talking about a gym salesperson. So when you're like, if I go into an interview and I'm as a club manager interviewing salespeople, because at this point I was a general manager, and I'm interviewing salespeople, then in a sales interview, this is like a sales conversation where like you're selling me on you, I'm selling you on the club, and we're both just selling each other, having a great time, right?
Yeah, we're trying to get on like a burning house.
Yeah. And then when that person would come in to actually sit down and do the work, then the behaviors that were necessary to actually generate leads, nurture and cultivate leads and develop appointments and presentations, those things weren't there because of a lack of, discipline or skill or whatever. But when they would sit down with somebody, they would do very well. So the fact that they had the gift of gab or a good communicator was not necessarily an indicator that they were going to be a good salesperson. And so we actually ended up implementing an assessment called the predictive index, that they had me, this guy that I mentioned, and several of the other top performers in the company take that predictive index exam. Then they found out that basically our predictive index scores in the certain areas were all very similar. And then they were able to then say, this is the people, when they sit in front of you, yes, you need to make sure they can fog a mirror. Yes, you need to make sure that they're, not awful from a visual presentation standpoint, but they're going to take the predictive index. And if they meet this classification, right, then those are the people that we want to hire. And lo and behold, they would be the best ones. Now, again, this person that I was mentioning that was very introverted, she was a fantastic salesperson, but it was because she did the behaviors. She did the action. She made the phone calls. She did the work, those pieces to develop the leads.
Well, I think we heard earlier, I think it was earlier, that talent, that's God-given.
Yes.
But skill, that is something that you can, that is the thing that you have worked very hard to learn.
Right.
And so, you're not limited because if you're naturally introverted, and the thing about being introverted is realistically is that your amygdala is actually stimulated quicker than somebody that's extroverted, which is why you're overwhelmed by external stuff faster.
Sure. Yeah.
Which is why you have like people who are introverted, they do their whatever it is, and then when they go home, they have to spend some time recharging their battery because they've just been overwhelmed by the external stuff that's hit them.
Sure.
Whereas an extroverted person, it takes more to stimulate their prefrontal cortex and their, to get them going. And so that's why they're actually seeking those experiences.
Yeah.
One's not better than the other. It's just how, some people are more towards, inclined towards this or something inclined towards that. It's just the way it is. But neither of those means that you're going to be doomed to not being successful.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I do.
So in that sense, you can learn the skill set of sales. It's not saying even if you're introverted, but introverted people learn the skill of sales. Extroverted people learn the skill of sales because sales is the skill.
Right.
It's not a talent.
Right. So then, another skill then would be to learn how to take that skill of sales and go from a one-to-one sales process to learning how to then turn it into marketing and turn it into a one-to-many sales process, which for somebody like me, that's something that over time I've struggled with because I've developed, I put so many resources and so much time and effort into developing my one-on-one sales skills that the work of then trying to generalize it or turn it into a generic process it was frustrating, almost like emotional, to try to figure out how to even do that. Even though like I would have frameworks and stuff that I've learned, it was something that I struggled with because I hadn't developed that skill. And I'm still developing that skill. That's still something that I'm in the process. Part of the reason that we have a podcast is because I'm working on the capability of communicating things that would resonate with more people at the same time, and thereby collapsing time frames. Because how can I serve the most people the best way possible is through, doing it through means that collapse those time frames to make it so that I'm no longer having to give this message to this one person and then go give that same message to the next person. Because I remember that when I was in the gym business, dude, I had 20 presentations in a day,
saying the exact same things,
saying the same jokes,
the same question,
laughing in the same way,
asking the same questions, trying to figure it out in Spanish.
Yeah, exactly. I've done that.
Oh no, I was there one time when you were doing.
Oh, there you go. There you go. Now, so I want to go through some business skills that are vital that I think are generic to all businesses, but that will especially help you in businesses where you have to like talk to people. You know what I mean? And so, and really all businesses deal with people. So I would say this isn't all businesses. The number one skill I think is your communication skills. And the reason I say this is because there's not just verbal communication like what we're doing or giving speeches and stuff like that. There's also written communication. And when we're talking about that one-to-many, you have to prepare ahead of time. And so a lot of times writing with intentionality of what you're writing is a big piece of that. And in framing things, in a context that present it to the same information to people in different frames of context. Perfect example of this is maybe we have a program where we teach people how to make residual income. Oh, wait, we have a program that teaches people how to make residual income. But not every person is interested in that for the same reason, right? So when we build, say, a lead magnet and we're giving away like a free thing. So like one of our lead magnets is the 5 business gold mines entrepreneurs miss that keep them from 5 and 6-figure months. So this is a little ebook, a little guide that we've made that we give people for free in exchange for their email address. Now they're on our email list, and then we can then send them, emails and nurture them and build a relationship with them through email, and by inviting them through other means, whether it's retargeting or whatever, to interact with us. And that as we know that as they consume more of the content, as they interact with us more, they'll be more interested in that program. But that's one way to get them in, right? Well, what if somebody is interested in software as a service? Or what if somebody's interested in merchant services? What if somebody's interested in payroll processing? I can make lead magnets that specifically speak to all of those different areas. All of those people are interested for different reasons, and there's different maybe minor message that resonates with them more specifically. And the more specific and I can make the message, the more it'll resonate with that specific group. Then they're going to be more interested. It's still the same back-end program that we're training people on. However, when the front end doesn't resonate with them, they'll never make it to the back end, if that makes sense. Yeah, totally. So part of that is all, and that's all written,
and not necessarily any of that has to do with your 11th grade English skills. You know what I mean? It doesn't have
my 3rd grade English
or 3rd grade English skills.
But no, it definitely my 3rd grade.
What I'm saying is you want to have good grammar, but we're not talking about you're writing an essay here.
Yeah.
This is not for academic publication. Your writing skills have to be based around, well, if I was speaking to someone and I was talking to them directly, to this one person directly, creating that kind of relationship with them.
Yeah.
But doing it at scale.
Right. Yeah, 100%. So communication is the big one. Improving your communication skills. If you can, again, use your wallet to fill your mind and let your mind fill your wallet. So communication is a big piece of that. Communication and sales are not the same thing, but they do go together. If you improve your communication skills, by default, your sales skills will improve because you'll be able to communicate the ideas that you want to convey to people in a more succinct manner. But if communication is the outgoing information, my ability to communicate outgoing information, sales skills is your ability to probably receive incoming information and draw information out of people, right? Because most of the time, the better sales process is from
ask questions,
right?
Ask questions about the answers to those questions.
Right. And then listen to those answers so that you can ask more questions about those answers.
And then when they run out of questions, that's when you're good.
Exactly right. So then the last one would be industry-specific skills and knowledge. We have an epidemic in the internet world of people that are causing a major problem. And the major problem is they're full of crap. And they are selling something that they cannot fulfill. And what it does is it makes people leery to do business with people online, right? And so that's why where it may have taken like one ad to get somebody to buy something now it takes them, 7, 11, touches on those, on that person, or what do they say, like 7 hours or 11 touches or something, like just like a 7-11 rule, I forget what it is, to get people to buy your stuff or to opt in or whatever it is that your goal is for them through the content. And that's a big problem in the industry, is that people don't have the experience and don't know what they're doing, but they have such a desire to be an entrepreneur that they go and they do the fake it till they make it thing. That causes a problem. because people will then buy stuff and then the stuff just isn't good. And then there's no sustainability there. You don't have a back end, a continuity capability or anything like that.
Well, the biggest part in that situation is going to be that if you are competent, we have a phrase in our martial arts training is that confidence, which is something martial arts is supposed to help teach.
Yeah.
Confidence comes from competence.
Well, and confidence is the next one. So, I mean, you're right there. Yeah, right there.
But, confidence comes from, but like actually knowing what it is that you're doing and being able to deliver on the things that you promise is a distinguisher.
Yeah.
Like everybody, you said, everybody on the internet's a generalist, but nobody is actually really good at what it is that they do.
Well, a perfect example is like Russell Brunson didn't start out teaching people marketing, right? What did he do? He created videos on how to build a potato gun. Now, not for nothing, that's kind of a silly example. I mean, he was making potato guns, like little, like PVC pipe, air compressed gun things that shoot potatoes. Okay. And he made a bunch of money selling a DVD and a little kit on how to make it. Right. Yeah. So we're not talking about,
but that process revolutionized the entire internet marketing.
Okay. So from there, all of the lessons he learned along the way, he then was able to distill into information that then we can apply to different industries and different businesses that have proven to be hugely successful across all industries.
Well, second example.
But he didn't start out selling that information.
No.
Because it's not just regurgitating information that other people have given. It's about using the information, making sure it works, having the experiential knowledge, because then you can distill it and convey it to people in a way that can transform their businesses and their lives.
Well, it's because success leaves clues.
100%.
Well, as a second example, Gary Vaynerchuk did hundreds of videos about his wine business.
Yeah.
He worked in for his father. Like, that's his whole story, right?
Yeah.
Is that he
worked at his dad's liquor store.
He was working in the dark, he says, on YouTube.
Yeah.
Shooting videos in the wine business before he stepped out into the other spotlight to say, hey, this is how you get attention.
Right.
You know what I mean? He did the work in order to develop the skills or whatever his industry was,
right,
long before he said, hey, I'm an expert at this skill set.
Yeah.
Specifically, knowing what it is that you're doing sets you apart. But like we talked about at the beginning, as an entrepreneur, it is still the actual fulfillment of that is going to be much smaller in your business as far as your time is concerned.
Yeah.
Maybe bigger in the beginning because you may be the business owner, the marketing director, and executing the thing at the same time.
Fulfilling.
And listen, there are tons of businesses where owner-operator is perfect for that person. You know what I mean? Like, it's not necessarily that people want to develop huge teams of my marketing division and my administrative and my sales, and that's not always necessary.
Yeah.
I don't ever want to, stomp on someone's business model.
Yeah.
If that is what is serving their personal,
right,
goals. But, knowing what it is that you are, knowing what it is that you're responsible for, that's going to be a critical, a critical portion. One of the things that I it brought to mind when I'm talking about industry specific skill sets, had a lot to do with, teaching,
Oh yeah, this was a big problem for you guys, at least in the past.
Well, one of the things that what I mean by industry specific skill sets, one of the things that changed my ability to be a leader and a manager in my business as a business actually came from relying on the skill set that made me a great instructor. Mm-hmm. And so, like, me and my wife, Jessica, we came to the conclusion that, what teachers do? Teachers teach. And so we took the skill set of being a great instructor and leading a great class and getting them to the beginning of the testing cycle for their karate belts to the end of their testing and applied it to our team.
Yeah.
So internally, Jessica and I think of our team of coaches and instructors as our secret, if you have 6 classes, they're our secret 7th class. And so we actually focus on leading our team as coaches and mentors, and we're teaching them, just like we teach the skill of a high block, but teaching them the skill of being a great communicator and understanding, children's needs and their stages of development, all of those things. Because of that industry specific skill set, we've been able to leverage that into how we became good managers.
Yeah, makes sense. No, it makes a lot of sense.
That's not to say I didn't botch. Or, that's not to say I was.
No. So that's part of the experience.
Multiple teams before, got to the point where we're at the team we have now.
Yeah, 100%. So, well, that's part of the gig, and that's why you have confidence today. So we said, the three things that we were saying that people lack that are preventing them from being successful entrepreneurs. The first one was mindset. The second one was their skills. And we've listed skills. We listed things, about mindset, priorities. We listed, things, but the last piece kind of goes with the mindset, which is confidence, which you've kind of already addressed a little bit now. But a lack of confidence manifests itself in a bunch of different ways. So if you lack confidence, it's because of problems with the mindset, clearly, right? Maybe it's problems with the mindset because you're fearing the fact that maybe you have a problem with your skill set, right? But you maybe don't have the skills or whatever. But most of the time, let's say that you are an entrepreneur, let's say that you're an electrician and you're going to start coaching electricians, or you want to start your own electrician business. You may have a lack of confidence in your abilities. And so instead of just taking action and going and doing whatever you need to do in order to start an electrical contracting company of your own, then you get stuck and you manifest into planning and preparing, but never actually doing. This is another thing that happens. And I would say that, there's people watching right now or listening that have had business ideas or dreams or hopes that they have been holding on to for a long time. Some people for a month, some people for 6 months, some people for years, some people for a decade, some people for multiple decades.
Their whole life.
And what has been holding them back is fear, right? A lack of confidence manifesting itself into fear. And so they've got in their mind, they've already, planned it out. They've already prepared it and everything like that, but they've never just done the things, the basics. And so kind of like earlier when I was talking about mindset, how people get stuck on distractions and they're distracted with things that don't matter, that aren't on the top of the priority list. And they're distracted. Like, I don't think a logo is a bad thing to have. As a matter of fact, today, I was working on some logos for a project. However,
this project.
Right. So, however, we've already filmed over a dozen episodes. Right. We've already got stuff edited. You know what I'm saying? So the logo is a piece of the puzzle that's being done as we're going through the project. But it wasn't but it didn't prevent you. Before I start recording anything, I have to make sure the logo is perfect.
Got to get my LLC.
Right. Stop. But, or else this is not going to be, perfect and successful. And so perfection can be an enemy of confidence as well, because in reality, nobody's stuff is perfect, and they've got this thing in their mind. So, long story short, it takes action to build confidence. It takes action to build confidence. I think Alex Hormozy said confidence comes from a stack of accomplishments that's irrefutable proof of why you should have that confidence.
Well, there's also the aspect of belief, right? In confidence, because whether it comes from, having your priorities in alignment, or whether we're talking about the actual skill sets of your business, but there has to be a belief that what it is that you are doing is whether it's being an electrician, whether it's, coaching someone into developing residual income, whether it's in our case, developing children for the game of life,
or finding payment processing clients,
that whatever my solution is absolutely going to be the thing that solves the other person's need.
Right.
Or I would even go so far that whatever it is, if it's being an electrician, that being an electrician or being an AC installer in Florida is absolutely going to change someone's life.
Perfect example on that, right? An AC installer in Florida. There are a ton of AC installers in Florida, but you know what? Every single house has one vital component. I mean, I probably would go buy jugs of water at the store and turn off the running water before I say turn off the AC. You know what I'm saying? I will shower with a bucket, before I want you to turn off the AC.
Worry about that hot water heater before we worry about that AC.
Right. Exactly. 100%. But like when I got into the payment processing industry and I started selling accounts, I had a lot of ignorance when it came to payment processing, and the fact that it was super competitive and that there's a ton of people pulling doors and bugging business owners to do their payment processing. But I didn't really care so much about the competition. I knew I just need, it's such a big industry, every business is taking payments, right? There's trillions upon trillions of dollars. I just need my little sliver, right? I just need a little bit, and then
a little piecey piece.
My little piecey piece. And then I could then make plenty of money for me and my family, and even enough to support a business and employees and whatnot. It wasn't that I had to develop some giant, piece of the market share. From a percentage standpoint. Now my focus is bigger, my dreams are bigger, my thought process is bigger.
Well, you realize that you were actually dreaming too small. That your ability to change people's lives through payment process. Like let's be realistic. It is a technical thing.
Yeah.
And most people in most businesses, they don't think about their payment processing very much.
Yeah.
But you take away payment processing and the ease and ability to eliminate friction.
Yeah.
And someone's business is to accept their client's payments changes lives.
Yeah. 100%. And the fact that we get them their money on time, and if they do ever have an issue, that we're responsive, whereas they were stuck, in other situations with other providers because of I can't tell you, every time I go to like a mastermind or something like that, there's gotta be a handful of people that tell me their horror stories with either Stripe or PayPal. And so there are just like there's no lack of people that once they find out I'm a payments guy, especially in those contexts where they're using PayPal or Stripe, where they're like, bro, Stripe's holding $400,000 right now. Like, what do I do? And I can obviously coach them through some of it. I can't really control Stripe, obviously, but I can also help them prevent those types of things going forward, which is, a big piece of that puzzle. So,
well, it's a macro belief.
Yeah.
Like I have no doubts that, because what ends up happening when you lack belief is that you don't ask for what it is that you feel like you should be getting. So let's take a service, and I know we keep coming back to like being an electrician.
Yeah.
But like a service that everybody uses.
Sure.
Having an electrician or something like that. Well, why does one electrician charge $100 an hour versus another one that charges $196 an hour or whatever?
Sure. In the same market.
Right. Well, because one believes that the value that they bring with their, number one, their expertise, their confidence, all of those things, plus either how they're backing it or just the very fact that they value the service that they provide greater, that they are worth more.
Sure.
Because of how I'm going to, believe it or not, change lives through electricity.
Yeah.
Is greater. And that's why they get more, why they bring more value to the table.
Yeah.
And that is definitely a confidence issue. And it has a lot to do with their confidence and their own money weirdness, getting away from their own money weirdness.
Yeah.
Why do some martial arts schools that are great schools, why do they charge, I know people who have clubs in churches or rec centers where these people who are master level technicians, great instructors who have spent their whole life doing martial arts. They're getting $50, a month or whatever it is, versus I know people who are pretty mediocre getting 200 plus.
Yeah.
And it has more to do with belief and confidence in their business and their belief in the result that they're providing.
Right.
Their confidence in their ability to develop that result.
Right. And not for nothing. Just because somebody's a great technician doesn't make them a great instructor.
No, but I do. But I'm saying is I do know people who are great instructors, provide great value, very competent at the thing.
Yeah.
But they
undervalue it themselves.
They undervalue themselves.
Yeah.
They undervalue their ability, what they're providing is going to change somebody's life.
So there's some good news. As we wrap up here, I want you to think that just because maybe you in the past, or maybe in the past, people that you've known or cared about have not been successful as entrepreneurs, doesn't mean that their future is then bound up in that. Because if we can, work on getting a proper mindset and developing our skills and our capabilities, then we'll then get the experiential knowledge that will provide the confidence for us to go out and be successful. One of the cool things about the world that we live in the information age and the internet and YouTube and all that is there are a ton of free resources that are available that can help you to get started. So at whatever level, and that you don't have to be, you don't have to be great to get started, but you have to get started to be great, right?
Exactly.
And so if you improve your mindset and you improve your skills and your capabilities, then obviously your confidence will improve. And then now you've got a recipe for successful entrepreneurship and successful business ownership. And this goes whether you own, you're looking to own a restaurant, right? You got to be able to either find people that cook good food, or you got to be able to cook good food, right? I mean, all of these things, they go with it. Any last thoughts or words?
Well, let's take the restaurant for instance. Whatever it is that you enjoy about your business, you can do. If you enjoy and genuinely love the execution, like if you genuinely, like an example for restaurant, if you enjoy being the cook,
Yeah.
that's okay.
Yeah.
What you do though as a business owner is you have to surround yourself with people who can do the other things that you are not going to be able to do.
Sure.
Because you're spending your time being the cook.
Right.
And that's how you win, not by being the cook and trying to do the things that you don't want to do.
Yeah. 100%. So I hope you're encouraged. I hope this has, provided you some value, given you some insight into the things that entrepreneurs are struggling with and what they need when it comes to mindset and it comes to your skills and your capabilities and your confidence. These are things that you can intentionally improve. These are things that you can take steps today to have, a better tomorrow and a better next week and a better next month and next year and so on. And so if you are interested and you want to get on our waiting list so that you can, develop these skills further, learn how to make residual income and all of those things, there is a link in the description. You should check that out.
Bless you guys. We'll see you on the next one.